everyone. Hi, I just want to call you guys, your all attention. I want to thank all of you who are here this evening. For those who are maybe watching this on cable, tonight is Wednesday, it's April 15th, and we've convened here tonight for the Abington Republican Town Committee Annual Candidates Forum. And so I'd like to thank everyone who's taken time tonight to come and spend the evening with us here. Where we're going to interview, we're actually going to ask some questions to those who are candidates on the town election, the ballot. What I can tell you, let me give you a little bit about what's going on with regard to the current town elections. The annual town election is taking place on Saturday, April 25th. The polling place is at the high school, and the polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And other things that you might want to know is there are questions on the ballot with regard to voting in some elected positions, and there's also one question that will be seeking the residents' opinion on that too. So in addition, currently, if you are not going to be around and you are a registered voter, and you're not going to be around on that Saturday, the 25th, absentee ballots are currently available at the town clerk's office. You can go there. You can fill out an absentee ballot. You can either pick it up there, or I think they can mail it if it has to be mailed to someone who's not, maybe someone who's a registered voter and is living maybe away at college. So I'd encourage you, if you're not going to be around on the 25th, to please get your absentee ballot, and encourage everyone who is a registered voter to please make sure they come out on Saturday the 25th and cast your ballots. All right, so this evening, with what I wanted to do first is give everyone who's here, and particularly the candidates, an idea of the rules that govern this forum. So here we go. All right, so we're going to read the rules. Okay, so the first thing that's going to take place is the candidate's introductory statement, which is a maximum time period of about 3 minutes. So what we're going to do first is anyone who's here who's running unopposed, we'll have them come up first. They can do their introductory statement. And then what we'll do, the next thing we'll do is we'll take the school committee, and we'll have them come up, and then after that we'll do the Board of Selectmen. I believe those are the only candidates that are here, so that's what we're going to do tonight. And at some point before we start talking about the school committee, I'm going to go over, just want to clear up what's going on with the school committees. There are 2 races for the school committee, so we'll go over that too. So let me continue with, so candidates will come up, they will do an introductory statement with a maximum of 3 minutes. Then there will be a question period for opposed candidates as a group, 10 minutes times the number of candidates present for the specific office being contested. The question period for unopposed candidates as a group will be 5 minutes times the number of candidates present for a given elected position. Candidates in each elective group shall answer questions on a rotating basis, starting from the left to the right for a given elected position. If no more than 2 candidates for an elective position are present, then seating order will be the same as that which is on the ballot in candidates' order. Candidates answer individual questions, and the maximum time period is 2 minutes per question. Okay? Written questions. We will take written questions from guests in the audience. They're encouraged and requested. By all means, you can do that. However, no oral questions will be permitted to be made by guests directly to the candidates. All questions must directly or indirectly relate to the policies of the town board or duties of the elected position being sought, or about public issues of general interest to voters in the town of Abington. No questions regarding candidates' personal matters, as you can imagine. We just want it all to be fair and put everybody in their best light, so you really do get a sense of the candidates running for elected position. Okay. So then, after the question period, then each candidate will have the opportunity to do a closing statement, which should be no more than 3 minutes. And so those are the rules. Any questions? Okay. Well, if anyone has any questions that they want to pose, cards?
Yep, the cards are over there. I'll run around every time I see somebody who wants a card, and I'll get it, and I'll pass it on to Maureen.
All right.
Cards are right over there. Roll it to circulation. You think somebody might have some questions?
Okay.
Yep. So
All right.
do that.
All right. So if you have a question, we'll get it to Dennis, and they'll be vetted out, and maybe we'll use them. All right, so let's get this thing started. All right. Oh, actually, one more thing before I do. I also wanted to acknowledge that Representative Jeff Deal is here tonight. Again, thank you, Jeff. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we're going to start with the first one. With regard to the Board of Health, there are two candidates for two 3-year positions. Tonight we have one of the candidates, Samantha Hall, is here. And so since she is truly running unopposed, come on right up here, Samantha. Okay, thanks. And thank you for coming tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Right, so Samantha, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Just have an opening statement. Tell us what you're all about.
Sure.
Thank you.
So hi, my name's Samantha Hall. I live on Linda Street, which is part of the Green Street neighborhood, and I'm running for the Board of Health, as Maureen just said. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was raised in Abington, proud graduate of Abington High. I'm a longtime volunteer in the community. I've coached youth cheerleading, youth lacrosse, and I'm currently a mentor to a teen girl through the Old Colony YMCA program. I work for the Home for Little Wanderers in the Advocacy and Communications Department. In my role, I advocate for programs that affect at-risk youth and families, and I advocate that they're adequately funded in the state budget. And issues regarding the population that the home serves are brought to our legislators' attention. We specifically are concentrating on foster care issues and youth who are aging out of systems of care. I'm very proud of my work that I do at the home. So I'm running for the Board of Health for a few different reasons. First, I believe that we all deserve to live in a safe, clean, and healthy environment. So I'm a very proactive person. If I hear of a problem, if I can contain it and keep it small, I think that's very important, especially in public health. The reason that I'm bringing that up is Green Street 2 years ago had a huge pest problem. It got out of control. It's finally been resolved through a lengthy process with the Board of Health and the local businesses. But I believe, as I've heard with others in the community, if a proactive approach was taken in the beginning of that issue, it would have been much more effective and would have saved residents money out of their own pockets that they had to pay to control that problem. Also, so looking around, I'm sure everyone sees it, we have a lot of abandoned businesses and homes in Abington, unfortunately. So it's important for those who are responsible for those properties to make sure that they're adequately taken care of. A lot of times, that appropriate party is banks, who's not in the community. And so it's important and for the Board of Health to make sure that there's no public health issues affecting neighbors from these abandoned homes and businesses. Lastly, one of the big reasons I'm running for Board of Health is I think as a town we need to better address the opiate crisis. The entire state of Massachusetts, the South Shore, and Abington, we're in the midst of an epidemic, and it's truly a public health issue. It's a priority for Governor Baker and Attorney General Healy. So there could be some possible future funding opportunities for cities and towns that are trying to combat that problem. This crisis, it doesn't just affect substance abusers and their families, it affects our entire community. Crime can increase, the safety of our community is at risk because of the desperate behaviors that happen with an addict. So it is a community problem, and I think it's something that the Board of Health could really spearhead, especially if there are additional funding opportunities and there's dollars we could bring to Abington to help us deal with this. It's a problem, it's a big problem, it's a statewide problem, but what's a better idea than acting locally with it and fixing it here in our own town? So I believe I'll be an asset to the Board of Health with my experience with the state legislature and my community involvement. I'm passionate about making Abington a community where people want to plant their roots and raise their families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Samantha, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Matt McDonough has also joined us, Plymouth County Register of Deeds. Just want to point out in the back.
Thank you.
Tiffany.
Yeah. Representative Deal just mentioned that Matt McDonough is here, Register of Deeds. Thank you. I'm sorry, probate. Thank you, Register of Probate. Sorry about that, Matt. Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, fabulous. All right, and again, thank you. That was Samantha Hall, and she is running for Board of Health, and thank you for coming this evening. Again, there are two people on the ballot for Board of Health. but you're voting for 2. So we were happy to have you here today. Thank you so much. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next race, which would be the school committee race. Before I ask the candidates to come up, I just was asked to make something very clear. In the school committee race, there actually are 2 races going on, and wanted to kind of make this clear. The first race is actually for an unexpired 2-year term, and that person who's running for that is unopposed. That is Leslie O'Neill. So Leslie O'Neill is on a separate line item on the ballot, and again, she is running for a 2-year unexpired term, and she is running unopposed. There is also another line item on the ballot, which is for a 3-year term to the school committee. That you have to vote for 2 people, but there are 3 candidates. So with regard to that race, we're going to have the 3 candidates who are running for a 3-year term. There are 2 positions available. We're going to have them come up, and we're going to ask them some questions. So why don't we take just 2 seconds or so, and we'll have you guys come up. Thank you.
Getting some questions from the panel. Are there any more questions? People can.
Yeah. So as Dennis was saying, if you have any questions, please get them to Dennis so he can take a look at them. Also, while these guys are getting set up, I did want to officially thank the Abington Republican Town Committee for putting this together and hosting this evening. It's obviously any kind of community involvement is really good, and as I'm seeing here, there are more and more people showing up this evening, so I just want to thank you all very much for taking your time, and again, extend a thank you to the Abington Republican Town Committee for hosting this evening. All right, hello guys.
Hello.
All right, so as we said, we have 3 candidates here for the 3-year term on the school committee. I will let them introduce themselves and opening statements. Why don't we start with you, Mike Karowski, on the end.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the Abington Republican Town Committee for holding this event. My name is Mike Karowski. I'm a candidate for re-election to a 3-year term to the Abington School Committee. I'm a resident of Abington for 26 years, married to my wife Eileen for 28 years. All 3 of my children graduated from Abington High School. I come from a family of public school educators. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering, and have worked in the high technology sector on both the technical and business side for 30 years. I have been a member of school councils at both Woodsdale and Abington High School for 5 years. I coached youth soccer, Little League baseball, and youth basketball for 15 years. I was a member of both youth soccer and Little League baseball board of directors for over 10 years. I was a member of the Green Wave Boosters before being elected to its board of directors for 3 years. All of this culminated into my running for school committee for the first time 3 years ago. During the past 3 years as a member of the school committee, a teacher's contract was settled and approved, a new middle high school has been approved for construction, and most importantly, staff has not been reduced in this district. Currently, I am vice chair and member of the Budget Finance Subcommittee. I am also the school committee's representative to both the Abington Education Foundation and Green Wave Boosters. The Abington Education Foundation provides grants to teachers in this district, and one of the functions of the boosters is to provide funding for all sub-varsity sports at the high school. I am running for re-election because I can provide leadership and direction of all 21st century technology to be used in this district. I can bring key insight into current and future contract negotiation and budget proposals. I will continually review all the district's curriculum to make certain that Abington students graduate prepared for college or the workforce. I believe that I bring a stabilizing and common sense approach to the school committee issues. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm Kathy Bailey, and I've been a resident of Abington for almost 45 years, since I married my husband, Jack Bailey. We've raised our 3 children here. I've been involved in the community since I became a resident, and as many parents do when their children are growing up, I became a CCD teacher, a scout leader, a soccer coach, music parent, and a few other things. I've been involved in many other organizations, the Furleo School Council, the Tricentennial Committee, the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee, the Abington Town Choir, and many more. But I believe it's my background and experience in education that provides me with the strongest qualifications for this position. I have 3 degrees in education, and I've earned 7 educational certifications. My experience includes work as a teacher, a professional development workshop presenter, a grant writer, Executive Director of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Middle Level Educators, and I've also spent a good deal of time writing curriculum. My work on the school committees kept me very busy for the past 3 years, and I've enjoyed it very much. I'm on the building committee. The building committee working group, which meets weekly or bi-weekly. I'm the collaborative liaison for the board of directors. I'm on the board of directors of the North River Collaborative. I worked on the negotiating team for the new teacher evaluation system, and I'm on the policy subcommittee. We're currently reviewing and revising the entire policy handbook for the system. I'm also the school committee's legislative liaison, and in that role, I've attended the MASC-MASS annual conference. I've represented Abington as the MASC delegate assembly, and I've attended the Day on the Hill sponsored by MASC to lobby as a lobbying effort for educational initiatives. As a school committee, we've undertaken a great deal of important work during the last 3 years, which Mike just mentioned, but there's a great deal more to be done. The town has approved the construction of a new middle high school. It's important that we make sure that building is built on time, on budget, fulfills our expectations, and enables all of our students to realize their unlimited potential. We need to make sure that over the next 3 years, our educators receive the professional development needed to prepare them to make the best use of all the technology and specialized spaces that the new building will offer. We need to make sure that our students are prepared and there are protocols in place for a smooth transition to the new facility. We need to make sure that we have a forward-focused curriculum that will prepare our students for challenges, of the challenges of our world today as well as in the future. And we need to strive for a balance between assessment, accountability, and quality instruction. The educational decisions we make in the coming years will be key to the future of our students in Abington as well as our town. I'd like to continue to put my knowledge and experience to use in that decision-making process. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, thank you to the Abington Republican Town Committee for hosting this event, and to the audience for coming, and everyone at home that's watching. My name is Wendy Happel, and I am running for school committee. I brought a lot of stuff, but I did forget my notes about me. So I just want to take a moment to tell you something about me and why I'm running for school committee. First and foremost, I'm a devoted mother to my daughter, Caitlin, a third grader at Beaverbrook Elementary. I've lived in Abington for more than a decade, along with my husband, Jim, a sheet metal union worker, and I'm the office manager for a local real estate appraisal company, and previously I was a real estate appraiser. I'm also involved in our community. I have volunteered as the troop leader for my daughter's Girl Scout troop for the past 4 years. I'm the service unit I'm the service unit co-organizer and service unit secretary for Abington. I've also helped at countless PTO events at my daughter's school and been a youth softball coach. Over the past 3 years, I've been assisting residents at a senior housing complex in Quincy with ride, shopping, and cooking, and I find all of this work very rewarding. With these things aside, I have constantly growing passion for the education of not only my child, but all the children of Abington. They deserve the best education system we can give them, as do the great men and women who do the teaching every day. Over the past few years, I've become increasingly concerned about the additional stress placed on our educators and children by the changes the federal government has imposed on our local educational system. Our teachers have become overburdened with too many tasks that are not related to the education of our children. I don't believe this new trend is taking our students and teachers in the right direction. Many parents, including myself, have found that one of the most effective ways to change what's going on is to step up and be vocal. The educational issues that are most concerning to me are student data mining and assessments, Common Core, PARCC testing, age-appropriate standards, loss of local control, and loss of parental control. I believe in the quality of education, and I want to act as your spokesperson to protect the most important things in all of our lives, which is our children. I ask for the honor of your vote so I can serve you and the residents of Abington in advocating for our children and our teachers. I will work with our teachers, parents, and staff to ensure our children get the greatest education possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. Now that we know a little bit more about you guys, we have received a couple questions, and so the way that this will work is I will pose the question, and then I will ask the candidate on the left the first question, and then the others will answer. If we have another question, we'll ask the candidate in the center, and then we'll work our way down, and then if there's a third question or more, we'll go to the candidate on my right. So far, so good? All right, so for the first question. And Mr. Kurowski, this will go to you first, okay? The question is this. What are the 3 to 6 biggest issues the school committee and the department will face in the next 3 years?
The biggest issues, well, the biggest issues will be completing of the new middle high school. Another big issue at the time will also be whether or not we determine to go with Park, the assessment going forward in replacing the MCAS. The Park test itself, which really stands for Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, long acronym, for what it stands for. I really looked at this in 3 different ways. I looked at the academic content, and basically, since I'm an engineer, I really looked at the math frameworks in Massachusetts. These are the Common Core math frameworks. This is what our students' basic curriculum is geared to, from grades K through 12. I looked at it from an academic context standpoint. I believe that the content in general is a good content. There are some problems there that do need to be revised. I believe I've reviewed some of the math problems, some of the test problems online. I've reviewed some of the MCAS test problems online as my kids went through Abington High School and through the grade schools. I believe that they're fairly comparable. I think the Park test provides a little bit more, I guess, being able to understand the problem a little bit better, being able to relate that problem more so than the MCAS test. So from that point, I think it's a good content. From a process standpoint, Park was never vetted properly. There was no real open type of town meetings, no type of meetings across the state to determine whether or not Park should be allowed as the testing procedure in Massachusetts. I know that Governor Baker has now scheduled 5 meetings across the state at 5 different colleges. I think one of them is in Bridgewater, and that's going to be sometime in the June timeframe. So from that point, I disagree the way the Park was brought forward. Implementation, there's 2 major tests in Park, one more than there is in MCAS. So if you take the Park exam, and if you take this as day 1 of your school year, and this is day 1 and 180 in your school year, there's the performance-based assessment is about 3/4 of the way through the year that the kids have just taken, whoever has taken Park in this state. MCAS was just taken also. About 30 days later, you have an end-of-year assessment. So now you have a major assessment 75% through the year. You have a major assessment at 90% through the year. And then if you're in the high school, the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors have final exams. So basically, almost the last quarter of the year are completely tied up with preparation for exams and the taking of exams. So from that standpoint, I don't believe that Park is a good method going forward, at least in the math area. There is an alternative that 4 states in New England have, and it's called the Smarter Balance Assessment, which 17 states across the country also have. They basically have one test around the same time that MCAS is, and it's an adaptive type test. And what I mean by that is that the students get progressively harder problems. So they go, if you're in first grade, you go 1 + 1, you get it right. You go to 2 + 2, 3 + 3, until you get it wrong. Then you go to the next subject. And I like that idea of that, and I hope that the state legislature would consider looking at Smarter Balanced Assessment as well. So I think the Park and all the testing is one of the biggest issues that we're going to be facing over the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Costa, thank you. Ms. Bailey, same question, would you like me to repeat it?
I believe we were looking for 3 to 6 issues that we would
Yeah,
be facing on the school committee.
Yes, thank you.
I actually, in my opening statement, listed 5. However, Mike is right. The discussion over assessment is huge. We are, unfortunately, living in the age of accountability and assessment, and have been for quite some time. Far too much, we need to focus on making sure that whatever is used to assess accountability, to assess our students, is does not take away from time on learning. And I'm sure there'll be much more discussion about Park and MCAS. However, that discussion has to be had with the state legislature. Currently, we are not in compliance with national rules in Massachusetts, because this year they let the school committees choose whether to do MCAS or Park. Abington chose MCAS because we don't have the technology for Park, and the paper and pencil test would have just taken up too much time. So that amount of time devoted to assessment is huge, and it's something that needs to be looked at and discussed. However, it's the state that's actually going to make that decision. In Abington, getting ready for the opening of the new building is very important. The town is putting a lot of their resources into that building. We need to make sure that everything goes into it is done correctly. Everything is where it can be of best use. Everything should be, everything that goes into the building needs to be of a quality that will stand up to the 50 years of use we expect this building to live through. And we're not looking for frills, and we've made that very clear to the designers, that we're not looking for a fancy building, but we need a building that does everything that needs to do to meet the needs of the 21st century. We also need to make sure that our teachers are prepared to be able to use everything. Right now, our schools do not have a lot of the resources that the other schools have. Our teachers need to be get their professional development so that they can use all the technology that will be in this building when it opens. There are going to be a lot of specialized spaces, particularly in the middle school area, because frankly, the Frollo does not have enough space to do much of anything that's considered middle school. So teachers need to be prepared. They need the professional development, and we've got the time while the building's being built to make sure that this is done. Our administration needs to put together protocols and look at the buildings, how they're set up, when they're ready, when they come online, so that we can have a smooth transition for our students from the facilities we have now to the new facility. We need to make sure that our curriculum meets their needs. The Common Core sets standards. Those standards are a baseline. They're not a full curriculum. A full curriculum includes standards, which are telling you what your students need to know and be able to do. At a minimum level, a full curriculum takes it beyond just the minimum level that the Common Core standards give us. A true curriculum also includes the materials, the methods that are going to be used, the units that are going to be taught. We need to make sure that we have curriculum that is aligned across grade levels and aligned vertically from pre-K through 12, so that the needs are met, it's solid, and it takes our students to where they need to be when they leave the Abington Public Schools. And then obviously that balance between assessments and time on learning. Whatever assessment the state comes up with, whether it's called Park or called MCAS or called some other name that nobody's even thought of yet, what it needs to do is be able to provide educators and parents with information about what their children can do and what their needs are, what their strengths are, so that we can meet those needs and those strengths. We can differentiate their instruction to improve their success in school. It needs to provide an accountability in that we are actually, all of the schools in the system are actually providing the things that are needed. And it needs to do it in such a way that it doesn't impact time on learning. In October, the administration needs to send a time on learning report to the Department of Education, and yet we spend a large piece of the last quarter of the year in testing, which really takes our children away from time on learning and curriculum. So we need to find a way to balance those, and those will all be big issues coming up as we move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Ms. Happel, would you like me to read the question again?
No, I think I have it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm also concerned about the new school and making sure that that's built on time. And, there's still some questions that I have as far as, separation and what's going to happen once the kids get there in the transition, in as far as technology that's going into the school and teaching the teachers, giving them the professional development to be able to show our kids what to do and how to do it and with the technology. As far as MCAS versus Park, there's actually, MCAS has a proven track record, and Park has no track record. Our kids are being used as guinea pigs right now. There was a few parents that we went to the school committee last year and asked them what their feelings were on Park versus MCAS, and they didn't have an answer at that point, and that concerned me. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for school committee, is because it concerned me that the board was just saying yes to things without questioning why we're doing it or what it's all about. So Massachusetts, the MCAS have been #1 in the country. That have made us #1 in the country. And according to NAEP, we've actually, since switching over to Common Core, in 2007, we were #1 by like loads of points in front of anybody else. And now we've actually dropped 5 points since 2013. MCAS was developed by Massachusetts educators, and Park was developed outside of Massachusetts. MCAS was vetted through the public process with transparency in every step. There were educators involved and parents involved. MCAS actually, you always get your results back from MCAS. You won't get your results back from Park. Park was developed behind closed doors and copywritten by a private entity and reviewed by a validation committee whose members weren't required to sign, who were required to sign a non-disclosure agreement as part of the review. Well-recognized experts with teacher and expertise were part of the assessment development for MCAS. The teaching expertise of writers for the multi-state consortium Park assessments is not a matter of public record. And MCAS secures control of curriculum with the local school districts, and Park forces the adoption of a national curriculum in order to pass the assessment. Park started out with about 25 states, and it's now down to 12 because of so many issues that have occurred with the test. Smarter Balance New York is taking the Smarter Balance test, which is, like Park, but it's a little bit different, still made by the same company. 551 principals wrote an open letter to parents about their concerns regarding this test. I personally, when we went to the school committee last year, there was just so many problems that we were hearing about Park, and I just wanted our kids to not be used as guinea pigs until there was just more information out about Park. If we don't even have the technology to go to Park. There's next year, if the state does decide that we're going to use Park, it's going to cost us a lot of money because we're going to probably have to use pencil and paper rather than computers, and that costs more actually than it does to use computers. And another issue that I have are assessments. There's so many assessments on our kids. Our kids just work so hard during the day, and the teachers have to just data, the teachers have to collect data, so much data on our kids. MCAS, and one other thing with MCAS is that it's, our teachers use it for placement for the following year, and it's used to, help our teachers and our parents, in the MCAS, you can get the results for it. With Park, you're not going to get any of the results. I may have said that. And data mining, that's another big issue for me. There's going to be a collection of about 400 points of data that they can take, and that could be, they'll use numbers to describe the person, the child. But they'll take 400 points of data, and that could be anything that's going on in your home life. That could be any disciplinary action that you've had. That could be your social security number. It could be anything, but it should just pertain to our kids. The data that's being collected should just pertain to how our kids do in school and not everything else that goes along with it.
Good? You all set?
I think so.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys very much. It's funny, there's a question up here which was with regard to Park and MCAS and Common Core, and I think maybe we covered that. So we'll go on to the next one. This question, we'll start with you, Ms. Bailey, with this one. Question is it a concern that we have lost students to private schools once they hit high school age? And if so, what can Abington do to retain students in district?
It's definitely a concern. It's always been a concern. Students are leaving the district because some of them are leaving for very valid reasons. If they're going into the vocational program, we lose a lot of students to VOTEC. We don't have a vocational program in our schools, and it's much too expensive for a public school the size of Abington to offer their own vocational program. So we lose a lot of students there, but we do lose a lot of students to private schools because they're feeling that they can get something in a private school that we can't offer here. Part of the problem is numbers, that we can't offer as many courses because the numbers in our high school, numbers of students are smaller, and you can't run a course with 4 students. You have to have a certain number before you can afford to run a course. So part of it is that we are looking at, through North River Collaborative, and many of the collaboratives on the South Shore, they're developing some virtual courses that students will be able to take, which might increase some of that. As another reason that students are leaving Abington is, frankly, our school. And with the opening of the new school, we feel we will be bringing back some of those students that have moved on to other schools. But we have to look at our curriculum. We have to make sure that it's challenging. In research I had done some time ago, Massachusetts was 50th among the states in programs for gifted and talented. The only way we provide things for our gifted and talented are through the AP programs in our schools, and we have to have enough students to run a course. So it's kind of a vicious circle. So we have to look at ways that we can provide the courses that we need in order to draw the students back. And we're going to be improving our facilities, which also will probably draw some of the students back. But it's always a concern, and it's always been a concern for as long as I can remember.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Happel, same question?
I think that we're losing kids to other schools, again, because the classes are so big. My daughter has 29 kids in her class. Also, some kids, I think, aren't good with taking major standardized testing, and a lot of private schools, they don't offer that. You don't have to take the MCAS or Park. And I agree that we do need better courses. I was an Army brat. I've lived everywhere, and one of the places that I actually lived was Newton, and they offered so much. They offered like improvisational classes. They offered, photography. They offered banking classes. They offered so much, and I think that maybe if we offered a little bit more, that people would actually stay here. And I do agree that if we built a new school, once the new school is built, hopefully we'll be able to get some people back here.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike?
Okay. Well, it seems like they've just about taken everything that I was about to say. But again, I'm going to reiterate that when we do have a new school in here, I think that the technology, the newness of the building, I think will bring back some of the students that are leaving, and that will also help us in the fact that we'll be able to increase our course curriculum, maybe offer different courses. Many years ago, when I was in high school, I actually took a programming course, and that's one of the reasons that I sort of delved into becoming an electrical engineer. We don't offer a programming course here, and most of the high schools in this area and across the state and across New England do offer some type of software programming courses, and we need to be able to keep those students here so that we can increase our curriculum, increase the depth of our curriculum, and by keeping those students here, we're not taking our money and funding them out to different schools, which is typically happens unless, of course, you go into a private school where you have to pay your own way to go to a private school. So I think the biggest thing is getting that new middle high school up and running, seeing what we can bring in, and hopefully being able to increase our course curriculum.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I want to remind everybody that I've been kind of giving you leeway to go as long as you want, but I'm going to try to keep you to like your 2-3 minutes answers. But having said that, really I'll probably only have one more question that I'm going to ask you guys. This one is one we tend to ask a lot, but what are your thoughts, or would you support an operational override to supplement budget, particularly the school budget? Yes, Ms. Happel, you are up.
I think that it's kind of a dated question. I think towns have found other ways to tax people. I think that parents, they buy supplies for their students, for their kids, and for the classroom. Another thing is, we have restaurants that we actually pay more money to be able to, come to Abington to eat. So I just feel like there's maybe other ways that we can go about doing that than maybe doing an override.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, at this point, I would not be able to support an operational override. I mean, we're having a new school being built. Hopefully that will bring additional students in, being able to keep some of that public money that we get in, keep it into our town, put it back towards the schools. We have absorbent user fees. That shouldn't happen. We need to figure out some way to get rid of those $175 user fees if you want to play a sport, and those $50 user fees if you want to be members of a club. I mean, our athletic budget is approximately $140,000. $104,000 of it is paid through user fees and gate receipts. We've got to figure out some way to be able to alleviate that, but that's certainly not through any type of an operational override.
Ms. Bailey?
I also would not support an override at this point in time. We've just asked the town to give us money to build a school. We are going to have to keep our operation budget within what the town will allow. Unfortunately, that means we have to find ways to provide what's important for our students' education within what we are granted from the town. And that's one of the reasons why we can't always expand those courses that we were talking about wanting to expand. But I think it's inappropriate at this point. The town has agreed with us about the needs of the school system. They've agreed to give us what we needed to build that building. And we promised them when we did that we would work within our operational budget, and we have to do that. Even though sometimes it means 29 and 30 kids in a classroom, which is abhorrent as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the question period. Now I'd like to give the candidates a few minutes for their closing statement. Mike, we started with you with the opening statement, so I'm actually going to go to Wendy. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
I'm not ready.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm a parent. I have a daughter. She's in 3rd grade. Anything that's happening in schools right now is happening to my daughter, her friends, my friends' kids. So I have a long way to go in the Abington schools. And I just think that for the school committee that we need a diverse group of people. We need our educators on the school committee. We need, our art people, and we need parents that, maybe stay up to date on what's going on and question. We need people that are going to question things and not just agree on everything that is presented. And I'm not one that's going to agree with everything, and I'll give a point of view, and I'll definitely work with everyone as well. I think that I'm a good team player, and as far as subcommittees and everything, I would definitely willing to do any of that, I just think that it's time for a change. It's time for someone to speak up and advocate for our kids and advocate for our teachers. And our teachers are afraid right now. They're afraid of losing their jobs. They don't want to say how they feel. I think I might be able to give offer a little bit more as far as I have, inventive ideas, of how to pull more people in to maybe come into the school committee meetings or knowing what's going on. I know we have a great website, but nobody's going to go to that website. Not a lot of people. They're not going to go running for the information. We have to get the information to them, and whether that's through social media or just more contact. And I want everybody to know that if you don't feel like you're comfortable going to your teacher or your principal, your superintendent, and none of that works, and I know that that's happened, that you can go to your school committee, and we're going to listen and we're going to help, whether it's trying to, be the mediator or, trying to be just more direct. So I hope I have your vote. I know that, I'm real nervous, and it's not something I've ever done before, being in front of all of you, so I apologize that I was kind of rambling on, but I definitely would wholeheartedly put everything into this. And, 3 years is a big commitment, and I'm in it. And I want this bad. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Just as a past 3 years, I will continue to work hard for the students of this community. I will listen closely to the concerns of parents, and I will act responsibly to make sure that all those concerns are brought forth. We are a sounding board, and we have to be able to help. If we can't help, then it's very difficult for this community and its students and its parents to move forward. And I will be here, as I have been in the past 3 years, to make sure I'm a sounding board and to bring those concerns forth, whether it's to other school committee members, whether it's the superintendent or the assistant superintendents, but I will be there as a sounding board for everyone, as I have been in the past 3 years. So I do hope that I will garner one of your 2 votes on Saturday, April 25th, and I do appreciate all of you coming here, and again, I appreciate the Abington Republican Committee for hosting this event, and again, I thank you very much and hope all of you come out to vote on April 25th. Thank you.
I also have to say, I want this very much. I have enjoyed the work that I've done on the school committee, and I've put in a lot of time, and I am ready to put in just as much time going forward. One thing that I can do is when different things are brought forward, I can visualize how they're going to be in the classroom. I've spent enough years in the classroom. I can visualize what it looks like. The state, DESE, is not going to stop giving us new initiatives. We need to be ready to handle them. We need to understand what they're asking us to do. We need to understand what they're asking teachers to do, and we need to work at how that's going to look in the classroom and make sure it works. I want to be there to help in that area. I want to be there to see that our new building is built. I am more than happy to put in my time, and I've been thrilled with the opportunities that I've had so far to work for the students in Abington. I always referred to all of the students in Abington as my kids, and my own children thought that there was something wrong, that I had too many children in Abington. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and for the Republican Town Committee having this event, giving us an opportunity to express our issues and ask for everyone's support. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the candidates for school committee, and remember to come out and vote on the 25th, and we'll take a quick little break while we change things up.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. We're back. Again, this is the Abington Republican Town Committee Annual Candidates Forum. We've just wrapped up the school committee, and now we're going to hear from our candidates for the Board of Selectmen. Again, to go over the rules, these guys are going to have an opportunity to give an introductory statement, then we'll have a couple questions for them, and then we'll have them do their closing statement. But I wanted to welcome you all. Thank you very much for coming. And again, as far as the race for selectmen, there are 3 candidates running for 2 open positions. It is a 3-year term. So I'll give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourself. Why don't we start at the end? Mr. Bezanson.
Good evening. My name's Alex Bezanson. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Republican Town Committee for hosting this event each year. I want to thank the Abington Cable and Bob and Andy both for agreeing to do this. And Maureen, thank you for moderating. I've been a resident of Abington since 1987. We chose Abington because of the small town feel, the school system, and the many sports programs for our youth. I am a small business owner. Excuse me. I am a small business owner, and I have been for over 30 years here on the South Shore. My office is here in Abington, and many of my family are here in Abington. I've served on several volunteer boards in town over the last 25 or so years. I do a great deal of charity work. I work with the Boston Bruins alumni and the NHL legends to produce up to 50 charity hockey games per year throughout New England and Eastern Canada, raising millions of dollars for numerous charities. Until recently, I served on the board for the Robin Kaplan Memorial Foundation. Since Robin died on 9/11, we had raised over $1 million in her name to help kids with Crohn's disease and send them to summer camp. After the loss of my sister to cancer a few years ago, my wife and I started the HUG Foundation of Massachusetts to help families and individuals who have suffered a loss or are going through treatment. The HUG Foundation is located right here in Abington, and a great deal of the money we raise goes back to Abington residents. If I'm elected, I want to bring a nonpartisan approach to leadership and action that includes focusing on small business growth. We need to form a task force to help property owners fill the vacant storefront, the existing vacant storefronts and commercial properties, which will bring in more revenue for the town. And if a casino is built in Brockton, if that eventually goes in, Abington must be designated a surrounding community. Most traffic going to the casino from east of Abington will travel right down Route 123, and we should not bear the burden of more police activity or traffic without compensation. I will work closely with Senator Keenan, Representative Deal, and Congressman Lynch to try and identify state and federal grant opportunities. I know all 3 of these gentlemen personally, and I've worked with all of them in the past. I look forward to answering the questions tonight, and again, I thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manning, why don't we go to you?
Hi, my name is Robert Manning. I'm a resident of Abington for 22 years, married to my wife Ann and 2 children. I've educated them both in private and public education. I've been a member of St. Bridget's Parish for the same amount of time. I volunteered in multiple functions at the St. Bridget's School, including the school board for 11 years. I volunteered as a coach for the athletic soccer program for over 11 years. I've coached at St. Bridget's basketball. I've volunteered at the North School in multiple functions and fundraisers. I've been involved in the town's Jack Billy's Lily Sale for about as long as I've lived in this town. And we raised a lot of good money for our various fundraisers in the town. I've been heavily involved in Troop 11 and Pac 41 Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. I'm proud to say that I've served and brought in 7 Eagle Scouts in my tenure here. I just recently retired. I've served 2 terms as an elected official for the Board of Health. I'm quite proud of my 6-year terms. I was a chairman for 3 years. We did have the trash change, and I'm very, very proud of the fact that I think the trash change has been accepted and adopted in the town very well, and has done what it was supposed to do, which is save some money. I'm a current employee of the Massachusetts Department of Revenue for over 30 years. I have a lot of fiscal responsibility at the department, and I come with a lot of fiscal experience. I want to help the citizens of resident in the town of Abington and help them understand decisions that are made by the Board of Health as we go forward. I want to make sure that we have fiscal responsibility in the town, and I want to make sure that decisions we make are the right decisions to have. And thank you very much.
Please, Andy, go right ahead.
Thank you, Maureen, and thanks to the Abington Republican Town Committee for hosting this event. Thank you to Abington CAM. Bob and Alex, thank you also for taking part, and thank you to all who are here and who are watching at home. Hopefully, this will be instructive and informative for you tonight. Good evening. My name is Andy Burbine, and I am running for re-election to the Board of Selectmen. It has been an honor to have served on the board for the past 6 years, and I hope that my commitment to making Abington a better town for all of us has earned me consideration for one of your 2 votes on April 25th. I am running for re-election because I believe I have had and will continue to have a positive impact on how our town government operates and the way in which our precious tax dollars are spent. Abington, like most municipalities in the state, has faced some very difficult fiscal times over the past few years. But despite those tough times, Abington has moved forward in a number of ways. I know there is more that needs to be done, and if re-elected, I will continue to keep Abington heading in the right direction. For those who don't know my background, my wife Carolyn and I are lifelong residents of Abington. We are both graduates of Abington High School. We have 2 sons, Jonathan and Matthew. Jonathan is a senior at Abington High, and Matthew is a junior at the high school. When Carolyn and I got married almost 28 years ago, we made a conscious decision to stay in Abington because we knew that Abington would be a great place to live and raise a family. We still believe that today. I'm an attorney with a law practice in Holbrook. I have been actively involved in Abington's town government for a number of years, having served on the Board of Selectmen, School Committee, the Finance Committee, and as town moderator. I also served on 2 charter review committees, the first one that drafted Abington's current charter, and the one I serve on now, which has a number of changes on the charter, which will be presented in the upcoming town meeting in June. In this past term on the Board of Selectmen, I have served as the board's representative to the School Building Committee. I also was the board's representative on the committee that negotiated a new intermunicipal agreement with the City of Brockton concerning sewer treatment for Abington. Throughout my career volunteering in town government, I have served with one thing in mind: to always do what I believed was in the best interest of the citizens, the taxpayers, and the town of Abington as a whole. For the past 12 years, I have been involved in youth sports thanks to my kids playing town soccer, basketball, and baseball. I coached my son's teams in all of these sports and have loved every minute of it. I'm a member of the Abington Youth Basketball Association Board of Directors, as well as a longtime member of the Abington Lions Club. It is organizations like the Lions, the Abington Youth Basketball, and so many others in town, where there are many volunteers working countless hours, which help make Abington such a great place to live and raise a family. Again, I hope my dedication and my commitment to the town has earned me your consideration for one of your 2 votes on Saturday, April 25th. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the candidates. It is very nice getting to know you all and who you are. So now that our residents know who you are, I'm going to ask a couple questions for you. I'll do the same thing I did in the school committee. I'll start with Mr. Bezanson down the end. Some of these questions you guys have touched on some things in your opening statements. So the first one is, what are the biggest issues that selectmen and town government will face in the next 3 years?
Well, I think 3 of the issues are, and I've been working with Representative Deal on one of these for over a year, long before I even decided to run for the Board of Selectmen. But one of them is we need to fill the existing vacant commercial retail storefronts. We need to set up a task force that we can help the property owners find quality tenants by reaching out to the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, reaching out to Metro South Chamber of Commerce, and Abington needs to be more business-friendly, bringing these businesses in to these vacant buildings. I'm not saying we need to build on every square inch of open space. We need to fill the existing vacancies we have now, and we need to be proactive in doing that. We've got a strip mall right up on Route 18 that's been vacant since it was built. We've reached an agreement with Brockton for more sewer. That's coming down the line, so there are no excuses now to fill these properties, and I work actively to do that.
Right. Thank you very much. Mr. Manning, same question.
Thank you. Well, the first issue was raised earlier tonight was the school. A school is a building. It's a physical presence. You can move people from one building to another. All you do is move what you had in one building to the other building. I believe I heard the need to make sure we have funding adequate for the teachers and adequate programs for the students. I think it's something the school and the Board of Health, and I mean the Board of Selectmen need to focus on, is finding adequate funding to make sure that these schools have at least some funding to bring in fundamentals, changes to what the program currently exists so it gets a little better as we move forward. I think we have a fiscal responsibility in this town. I'm not complaining about it at all. I just think it's very hard to do your job every day when you don't have the money to do your job. We have to find some ways to be more fundraising ability to find more funds to help the town pay its bills and be able to actually help in other areas of the town. I also think that we have to find a way to get more participation and more information out to the public. I think it's very tough when you come to an election every 3 years, or you come to a board every 3 years, and you're asked questions like what's important, and I don't know how many people out there actually know what's happening week to week, day to day in the city and town, but I believe it's important for this board to get more information to the people in any way we can so that they understand what we're dealing with on a day-by-day basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Mr. Burbine, same question?
Yes. Number one, as always, we are faced with budget constraints every single year. State funding for local aid is not increasing very much and hasn't increased very much in the past 6 years. So we have to make sure that we budget wisely, that we prioritize, and I think the current Board of Selectmen has done a pretty good job in doing that. Also, the building of the new school, that is going to be a big project. It's a $93 million project with the state thankfully picking up about 57% of that, but the taxpayer here in town on their property tax is going to be responsible for the rest of that. So as the candidates for school committee said, we need to make sure that the school is built on budget, on time. Alex makes a good point about the businesses in town. We have formed recently, as one of the selectmen's goals, a Abington Business Association that is getting up and going, and that's hopefully going to be a platform for the town government and the business community to work together and try to help the businesses in the town prosper. We do have a DPW that is coming into play. That's going to be combining the sewer, the park and rec, and the highway. So that's going to be giving us some cost savings, but we have to make sure that that gets up and going also. And then, as always, we have collective bargaining agreements that we're going to be faced with in the next year at the selectmen level with the police, the fire, the clerical, and the library. So those are the 5 big things that I would say we're facing.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to the candidates. A similar vein that's running through a lot of what the questions I have here and a lot of what you guys are talking about has to do with funding and lack of funding at the budget level. So the second question, which Mr. Manning will go to you first, this is: are there any departments that you believe are considered underfunded? And if so, do you have a plan to increase the funding for that department?
It's easy to say that. I could say almost the entire town is underfunded in some way, shape, or form. I would be lying to you if I didn't say that. I believe if we're going to kick anything off, public safety is one of the most important things. I believe that the police department has been understaffed for a number of years now, and we need to find ways to address that. I believe that public safety is probably one of the more important things here. But I also mentioned in my comments that the school, I mean, to spend $93 million on school and just not do anything about it to make it better is crazy. It's not simple. Someone once said to me that you can have all the good intentions in the world, but if you don't have a dime to spend on it, you're not going to get anywhere with it. So I do not have, and I'm not going to sit in front of you and lie to you, expectations that I can convince the state to give us more money. I think we have to find ways to work with the state to try to find more money if there's more funds available. I think we have to find ways to look at grant writing to see if we can find money for different programs throughout the town for that. I just want to speak out as former chairman of the Board of Health that our health agent has done a very good job at grant writing and getting grants to get assistance to this town and provide better service to this town. So I think it's someplace that we can look at. So, and to keep it short and sweet, I believe that all of our departments need funding. I think it's the board's responsibility to look at each and every division and see what we can do to help. And no, the answer is not simple to find the funding, but I believe we have to do something about it. And I'm willing to try to work with the board to find that answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Andy?
Again, it comes down to priorities. There are only so many tax dollars that are available to be used. Public safety, I think, is one of the biggest areas, at least on the selectmen's side of the town, that needs to be looked at. Thankfully, through a lot of hard work by the fire chief, we've been able to reopen Station 2, hire some new firefighters through grants that he applied for and was able to obtain. So I think the next place in public safety we have to look at, obviously, is the police department. And I know the town manager's goal, and I know the selectmen's goal is to try to increase the funding for the police department going forward. But it's not easy. It's, again, there's only so many tax dollars to go around.
Thank you very much. Alex, same question.
I think most of the departments are underfunded, to be honest, but I definitely think the police department is one that we need to look at. And on one of my Facebook posts, a former selectman said, if you're elected to the board, or something to this effect, if you're elected to the board, there is only so many slices of the pie, and you have to cut from one department to fund the other. And I don't necessarily agree with that. There are other ways to raise money and raise revenues without just planning on the 2.5% tax increase every year. Other towns are doing it, and I've been forming another business for about the last 4 years with a partner of mine, and we're just getting up and running now, but it's an energy savings business. And I've had the opportunity to meet with several mayors and selectmen all around the state, and there's ways that you can raise money without raising taxes. And one way is with the energy savings. For example, 4 years ago, when I was first starting this other business, I met with the town manager, then John D'Agostino, and I offered him a net metering solar program. And that does not mean we have to put a solar field in Abington. It's just a net metering agreement that would have saved 20% at least on our electric bill for the last 4 years. In my estimation, that's about $2 million, and that's just about what the fire truck is costing us. So we would have had the money to pay for that. We would have had the money at $2 million for 2 police officers for the next 10 years. There's other ways to do it. Abington can do LED lighting and save 20% on the electricity. There's rebates out there. It's no out of pocket, and it's a positive cash flow from day one. So there are other ways, and that's just one way, that we can raise revenues without raising taxes.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. Good question, good answers. Somebody mentioned about the fire truck. At least one of you guys, or 2 of you did. And next question that we have here, and is this. What are the issues that you see in the financing of a new fire truck for the voters at our next annual town meeting? I think, Andy, we're going to you, right? Thank you.
So we did purchase a fire truck at our last town meeting. We just didn't decide on how we were going to pay for it. So now we're going to be deciding how we're going to pay for it, and the first way we're going to ask the people to pay for it is through what is called a capital exclusion, which is a one-time increase in your property taxes to pay for the fire truck. The fire truck's going to be about $990,000, $1 million or so. So the average taxpayer would have to pay one time about $208, and the fire truck would be paid for. Hopefully the town is going to adopt that proposal at the election on Saturday, April 25th. If they don't, it's going to come back to the Board of Selectmen, and we're going to have to decide another way to pay for it. We could ask for a debt exclusion, which we then could schedule out the payment over a period of time, 10 years, 15 years. Or we could work to absorb it within the budget, the payments on the debt within the budget. But if that happens, then we're going to have to make cuts in certain departments. So I think the capital exclusion is the best way to go forward with it. Hopefully it passes on April 25th. But if it doesn't, again, it'll come back to the Board of Selectmen to make a decision on another alternative.
Thank you. Alex?
I would definitely support the capital exclusion on the ballot. $208 on the average homeowner. I understand for some people it is a hardship, but if we finance this over a number of years, we're going to pay a lot more money in interest, and it's going to cost us more in the long run. I think if we split the $208 up over the 4 quarters, then we're talking about $13, $14 a month. And I definitely think that's the way to go.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Manning?
Not much left to say, but let's say it anyhow. There's never an easy solution to pay any bill. And this proposal for a capital exclusion, I believe the Board of Selectmen voted to do that already, right? That's out there for the vote on the 25th, is one way of doing it. And as Alex said, if you can break it up over a quarter or the months, it's like $13 a month, yeah. But what's right behind it? It's the school and what's going to be attached to your funding after the next year after that, and for the next, 10, 15 years. I would also be in favor of the capital exclusion. I don't see it's an easy solution. I would have liked to have broken it up a little bit if there was the possibility to make it a little less painful for the citizens, of maybe paying it over more than 1 year. But given the fact this is the limitations, we are going to have more debt coming onto our burden on our shoulders, all of our shoulders who pay taxes in this town. And this is one clean way to get this bill paid and move on to the next thing that the next financial challenge we have to face. So I guess in saying that, if this capital exclusion fails, it's going to be a very difficult time period in this town if we have to look at budget cuts during a given year, and what that means to the different groups we just talked about, try to get more money for. So I guess I'd like to finish with saying I would also approve of the capital exclusion.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Somewhat sticking to relevant issues, timely type of things. As we're all aware, we've experienced quite a severe winter, and along with that came unprecedented snow and ice removal costs to the town. My question to you is this. Can you provide your thoughts on the current snow and ice budget and how the town could plan to make up any budget deficit? It's a tough one, I know.
Well,
Alex,
to me, right?
yes, you're up. Thank you.
I'm not sure exactly what the budget is, but I believe we're at about $800,000 that we owe. And I know Governor Baker went to Washington this week looking for money, and he didn't quite get what he was hoping for. And I see Mr. Deal over there smiling. But I really don't have an answer how we're going to do that. Obviously, we're going to need some assistance from Senator Keenan and Representative Deal. Abington, like many towns, cannot just absorb an $800,000 hit without teacher layoffs, police layoffs, fire layoffs, and we can't afford to do that. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but I definitely think that we need to be talking with the state and Governor Baker's office and see where we can go with this.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manning, same question?
Yeah, I'm with Alex on this one. And it's not a simple solution. It's another debt that we have to face. Unfortunately, it's common practice, whether it's the state level or at the town level, to underfund this, and then make some assumptions that we're going to find a way to make it up down the road, as they say. That road actually ends in 12 months or less, so you have to figure a way of what you're going to do to get there. I do not have a simple solution for this either. I agree with Alex in saying that we do have to work with our state representatives to find ways of funding. I'd like to think I could come up with a couple of quick ways to maybe help offset that towing bill or the plowing bill during the year, but I'm not willing to go out on a limb right now to say anything about that. But I do believe it's not like any other financial issue. It's something that has to get resolved. We have to resolve it during the given year, and it's not going to be an easy thing, and it could be painful again. And we're paying a lot of pain lately in this town. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Burbine.
Yes. Alex is right. I think the snow deficit is around $800,000 at this point in time. That's unusual, obviously. This winter was a really tough one, as we all know. But in the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've been running a deficit in the snow and ice budget, which I have worked and tried to get us to increase our snow and ice budget so this would not happen. And it's still something I want to work on. With funding snow and ice right now in the town budget at $100,000, which is woefully underfunded. On average, snow and ice on a decent year, we're spending probably $300,000 to $350,000. So we need to increase that line item incrementally over a period of time so we get to a much more real number as to what our budgeting is. As far as paying this $800,000, hopefully, as Alex said and Bob, we're going to get some disaster relief through the federal government. I know they are going to cover the January blizzard, and I think Governor Baker is still trying to work on the other snow incidents. But in the end, what we've done the last couple of years is take money from free cash. Now, that's probably going to be available again this year, but as a result, that takes money away from things that we could put to capital improvements or put to pension liabilities or health insurance liabilities. So that's probably how we're going to end up solving part of it, and hopefully, again, some disaster relief from the state and federal government. But going forward, we need to look at the snow and ice budget and get to a much more realistic number.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I don't think you can get through one of these question and answers without the following question, so I'm just going to throw it at you. Would you support an operational override? There's your question. Who are we at?
Back to me.
Yeah, I thought so. You just can't avoid it.
Shall be last and the last shall be first, I say. I'll be honest with you. I believe an operational override should not be left in the hands of one individual person. It needs to be left in the hands of the town to make that decision. I'd be willing to put it out to let the town make that decision. I don't see a lot of good coming from it in a lot of ways because, you know, we see there's so little money available, and when we keep going back to the same route collection fund over and over again, we never get out of the loop. And I think that the townspeople have to make the decision of whether or not you're staying in that financial loop or not. So I would think my best answer would be is I would put it out to the town and let them make the decision.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Burbine.
No, I would not support an operational override this year or next year. Or in my next term, I would not support an operational override, only because we're, as Mrs. Bailey said earlier, we're asking the town, and the town has gratefully accepted a $400 average increase for the new school. And to put more on top of that, I think, is asking too much. The average taxpayer in Abington pays $5,022, which is about 120th overall in the state. And we have to just deal with what we have as far as within the levy, and we'll have to do that for the next 3 years. And hopefully, Representative Deal is here again. We'll be getting some increase in state aid because that hasn't happened for a while. Not that it's your fault, Jeff, but it's just been very difficult the last 6 years, and it's been a difficult economy. So hopefully things are going to get better, and we will realize a little bit more money from state aid, which will help us tremendously.
Mr. Deal wishes he stayed home tonight.
Exactly.
I would not, if I'm elected in the 3 years, I will not support an override. Like I said earlier, there are other ways to raise revenues, and an override is not one of them that I'd support.
Thank you very much, guys. I want to ask you like a simple question, like, do you think the Red Sox are going to win the World Series or something, just to lighten up the mood?
The
But
Bruins are going to win the Stanley Cup.
okay, we'll go there.
The Celtics still have a chance.
They
so.
do, yes.
Just to lighten up the mood a little bit. But anyway, so that concludes the question part of this forum. I'd like to now put it back to you guys, to the candidates, to make their closing comments.
Where do we start?
Why don't we do, Andy, why don't we go? Why don't we start with you?
Wow.
That's what I did for the school committee, and then we'll go backwards the other way.
Thanks again, Maureen, and
You're very welcome.
thank you to the Abington Republican Town Committee, Abington CAM, for the opportunity to take part in this forum. Thanks again to Bob and Alex for being here as well. Thank you to everyone attending and watching at home. I hope it has been informative and worthwhile. Over the past 6 years, during some difficult fiscal times, Abington has made a great deal of progress. Under the leadership of the Board of Selectmen and with the hard work of the town manager, the town employees, and individuals on many boards and committees, we have moved Abington forward in a lot of ways. The town stabilization account, which is the town's savings account, has increased from $1,000 to $900,000. The town is in the process of designing and building a new middle high school, with the state contributing 59% of the construction costs. Through the leadership of the town manager and the Board of Selectmen, Abington has a model trash collection program which has increased service and saved the town hundreds of thousands of dollars. For close to 2 years, on behalf of Abington, Mark Jameson, John Stone, and I negotiated with representatives from the City of Brockton for a new intermunicipal agreement with the city for sewer transport and treatment. Those negotiations ended successfully with an agreement which saves Abington ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars and will increase sewer capacity to Abington by 500,000 gallons. Recently, again through the leadership of the Board of Selectmen and the town manager, the town adopted a charter change to institute a Department of Public Works to consolidate the park, highway, and sewer department functions to realize more efficiencies. Although a lot has been accomplished, I believe there is more that needs to be done so that Abington will continue to be a great place to live and raise a family. Some of my goals in my next term are, number one, to see the completion of the design, building, and opening of the new middle school high school. I have had the privilege of being the Selectman's representative on the school building committee since its inception, and if re-elected, look forward to being on the committee when ground is broken and when the building is complete. I know the new school is going to be a tremendous asset to the whole town for years to come. We need to fully implement the Department of Public Works, and as part of that implementation, work to see that the Recreation Department is operational year-round so that programs are offered throughout the year to all residents. The Abington Business Association is in its beginning stages and was developed out of a goal that the Selectmen set to improve the aesthetics of our business districts. The association will be a platform for communication and partnership between the town government and the business community to work together on issues affecting businesses and our business areas. The town needs to develop and implement a plan for the use of Griffin's Farm and will also face decisions on what to do with the North and the Center schools once the new school is completed. We need to start planning now for what we will do with both of those buildings. As I have done throughout my time as a public official, I will continue to advocate for responsible, common-sense budgets and sound fiscal policy. Finally, the residents and taxpayers of Abington deserve and expect that their government be open and transparent, and I will continue to work hard for and promote that type of government. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to our views and ideas tonight, and thank you for allowing me the honor to sit on the Board of Selectmen the past 6 years. I hope I have earned your trust and your confidence during my 2 terms on the board, and I respectfully ask for one of your 2 votes on Saturday, April 25th, so I continue working on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burbine. As I did with the school committee, Mr. Bezanson, to you.
Again, I want to thank everyone involved for this event and everyone that's here tonight. I think it's extremely important that we do this type of forum, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope the voters at home will watch this. I have a lot of great ideas, or at least I think they're great ideas for the town, and I hope you agree with at least some of what I said tonight. I urge you to get out and vote and exercise your right to vote on Saturday, April 25th. If you're going to be away before then, I think Maureen mentioned earlier, the absentee ballots are available at Town Hall, and I just hope that one of your 2 votes for selectman will be cast for me, Alex Bezanson. Thank you very much.
Mr. Manning, go ahead.
Thank you, Maureen. I once again would like to thank the Abington Town Committee for having this tonight. I'd like to thank Andy and Alex, and I just want to thank you both for running. I think it's a tough thing to do, and we're up here trying to do the best we can for what we think we can do to help this town move forward as we go down the road. There are a number of big issues facing the town, none more than the bigger than the school that we're going to put in. And as I just said earlier, opening up a school, opening up a building is a building, and what you put in that building is going to make a big difference in what goes on. Yeah, in the short term, because it's brand new, everyone's going to say, let's go back to the school. But if we have the same stuff that's in the old school, it's going to be in the new school. It's not going to make it any better, any different. So we still got to make sure we have that funding for those teachers and that programs in that school to make it attractive to children to stay in this town to get their education at the high school. There's a number of financial situations that never go away in any town politics, no matter where you go, and we have to do our best to do our job to do that. As a member of the Board of Health over the last 6 years, and in my leadership of the Board of Health, I believe I have shown some ability to have that leadership by bringing through a new health agent and the trash program and working with the town and to help save the town money. I, too, also think I have some good ideas. I think I've had some good ideas for a long time, and I'm willing to put them to work if I can. But most importantly is your vote. On April 25th, you have a representation to come out and speak your mind about what you think is important in this town. I'm asking for one of those two votes on the 25th of April, and I appreciate you coming here tonight. I appreciate everything that these gentlemen have done sitting here tonight to make a presentation to you. And I look forward to receiving one of your two votes on April 25th. Thank you very much.
And so that concludes the Abington Republican Town Committee Annual Candidates Forum. My name is Maureen Jansen. I just wanted to thank everyone who came here tonight, who's in the audience, as well as all the candidates that came and gave up their time and let us know a little bit more about you. Also the candidates who were not able to come here today, I want to thank them very much for their interest in running for elected position as well. Again, I would encourage anyone who can make it and is a registered voter on Saturday, April 25th. Again, the polls are open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and those who will not be in town, I would again encourage them to please go to the town clerk's office and get an absentee ballot. And again, one last thank you to the Abington Republican Town Committee for doing this each and every year. And have a great evening. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, guys.